Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here, and it is Monday evening. We're 2 weeks and change away from the election. Nice pullback today in the markets, and we were set up for it going into this week, as you know from the high probability watch list for the members of Day Trading Radio. I was looking for the correction before the election. Now we started to get that. I started to take off some of my puts, and I actually went long a few calls today based off the 60-minute time frame, which I want to show you in a second. Also, I want to use this video to concentrate on some important levels in the market that we could pull back to. Just that we could pull back to. Mostly gaps that have been left behind on the S&P cash chart, which we've come down to and marked off perfectly. So we're actually seeing those gaps play out really good. So it makes sense to keep an eye on those. I got the bot running overnight as usual. It's already taken 2 positive trades. One back here, divergence long, and a divergence short just happened. You do get those alerts for the time being on Twitter if you follow the Twitter feed at, the Twitter feed is at Day Trading Radio, DayTradingRadio, Day Trading Radio, one word. And you can actually see those alerts go by, but you have to be a member to be able to shadow the bot, unless it's overnight, where I do put it up. I do put it up for the public viewing overnight, so you can actually go to DayTradingRadio.com and actually see it now live. So I definitely recommend that if you're interested in trading using the Rockbot. There's a lot more information on the page. So let's start off by taking a look at the markets here. I really want to just break down the levels for you. All right, if you look at the S&P 500, you can see we had a pretty down day today. Now, I cleaned up my chart. I took all the lines off of it. Normally during the day on the show, you see me out with a lot of trend lines. I wanted to make a clean chart today for you and just go over some of the basic technicals that we look for. Now, we can see that the stochastics are rolled over. We had a big candlestick to the downside today. I had 28 bearish candles, which were quite a bit on my scans. But you know what? This is all being based on a lot of different things. So we can't really go into this as a trend chart or anything that we could really press in the direction of the move. Even though we do see sometimes these big moves, you get some follow through. But let's just remember, there's a couple things that we have to pay attention to. I guess the number one right now would be the stimulus, which is due. They're saying that tomorrow is the deadline. So the market right now is up. If we take a fast, I was just setting up stuff. I got the bot set up and stuff. And if we take a look back at the bot here, we're up about 19 points. 19 points on the S&P. This is the bot right now. You can see 1950 there. And you can see that latest divergence and the pullback. It's actually pulling back a pretty nice channel line here. If you could take a pivot area, a trend line from this pivot through this pivot right here, underneath, you probably have a pretty decent channel that you could trade throughout the evening here. So watch that. Let's go back to our chart. Let's move over here a bit. Set that up again. So, if they come out with some type of agreement on the stimulus, you're going to get a short-term pop. No doubt about that. But how long is that pop going to last? Personally, when something's in the news, as much as this has been covered, the market kind of feels like this is something that's going to eventually happen. If it happens before the election or after election, it will happen. Now, if it happens before the election, we got a little pop, but I don't know if it's what everyone's going to want. I think, if they hold it after the election, there's probably a better chance of getting a bigger stimulus instead of fighting over it and trying to get some kind of, watered down stimulus before the election. I think if you do happen to wait negative, it'll be short-term negative. I think tomorrow, if we don't get the stimulus, it pushes it off, but I don't think it's a big deal. I actually think that it might actually be seen as a bullish scenario where there could be a bigger stimulus coming after the election. It's going to be that's the wild card right there. And the other one, of course, is the COVID-19 virus and how that progresses. And And where if we have a flare up and going into the winter, it's always a concern. So those two major things. And then, of course, the elephant in the room, the election. How is that going to play out? I mean, that's going to be crazy in itself. It's just going to be a circus on the election. If there's going to be a disputed election, a contested election, election where it doesn't run smooth, and we don't have a president elect, or it's just going to be it's going to be strange. So I ended up buying some VIX calls today just to kind of touch base with that. First of all, I did buy some VIX calls today, and they started heading up. We timed the market right pretty good. We had a nice little pop. And just, who knows what comes of this. I just put it down here. I said, you know what? It's not a bad hedge. I'll take this as a hedge too. Bought some calls. If we happen to get any significant craziness in the market and we get this thing to be back about 40, 50, who knows where, that's a nice hedge. Right now it looks like we pulled back a lot. It's not my favorite trade on this, but it feels good to have a little hedge on this. The more and more I've watched this market, last week I kind of held back. I've been very cautious today. Again, the same thing. Pretty cautious on going forward. That worked out good because the market rolled over and continued itself. So tomorrow, even though the futures are higher, if there's any type of big announcement when it comes to the stimulus, we could get a flash move in one direction or another. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. So we're going to start off with, we'll just look at the S&P cash here. And you can see we had a nice run up here in October. Beginning of October. We gapped up, we consolidated, and we had a gap, and a gap. We had a running gap, and then we kind of faded back, and we came back here. So there was some gaps here. There was a nice gap here, which we closed. There was another gap here that we closed. And then there was a gap here that we closed. So we already closed 3 gaps. That leaves us one significant gap down here. This is the big one. So I want to just mark this one off for you. Right there. It's going to come in at that 3,300 level. To give you an exact mark on that high is 3306. So that's 3306. Let's see if I can write that down. Gap fill 3306. What the heck happened? Why does that look weird? There we go. Give or take up a couple points. Now we had the closing price here, and then we had a gap up here. This is not my favorite type of gap. I like a gap where there wasn't no trading in that area. We never came back to it. In this case, we popped. We kind of traded back into the candlestick, but there was a small gap from here to here. I would say that's a minor gap. I wouldn't put too much into it, but 33.51, we'll call it 33.50 even, just to make things look into it. It was kind of the closing price gap there. It's just a 33.50 area is another area I would pay attention to for bounce. The 50 period moving average is underneath us. The 20 period moving average we're right on. Even though I'm kind of a negative nilly going into the election just because of the uncertainties, sure doesn't mean it doesn't mean that I'm negative overall. I mean, just to have the markets holding that 20 period moving average is very bullish. And the other thing is, the reason I took a 60-minute type of scalp today is because of exactly that, the 60-minute rotation. 60-minute rotation, we don't get oversold too often here. And when we do, if there is some selling, yeah, it lasts maybe a day or two before we get a nice pop back up. So we did get oversold. We pull back to the 200. If we start to rotate back up here on the 60, we could have some more upside. There's a slight downward channel here. Yeah. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice level. I mean, this is a textbook lower channel line stochastic rotation, 200 period moving average. It makes a lot of sense to see an early morning bounce on this. and push back into this. Doesn't say we can't roll over after that and continue to move lower, but this is an area where you could see a little bounce. Everything here looks good. Now again, the gap fill 33.06. What are the odds of us getting down there and closing that gap around before the election? And you can see these levels here playing out. There might be some other gaps back here. I'm not even 100% sure. Looks like there's something way back here that we never came back and retested, which is down at 28. Wow, that's a big gap back here. I'll mark this one off anyway. That's a significant gap. We'll call it 28.60. Wow. All right, well, that's a big level down there. That's almost a 50% retracement too, to the COVID levels. I want to write that in also just to make sure. Fibonacci retracement candle from the lows to the highs. And our 50% retracement is right on that line, that 28.60 level. You gotta be kidding me. That's like a perfect retracement zone right there. Might be a little bit higher. I have to read into those lines. Actually, it is a little bit higher. Right above it. All right, so we got those levels here. Again, significant ones here, 33.06. And a smaller one. What is this one here? What is this? Oh yeah, that was the 33.50 and 33.06. All right, so that's it right there. All right. One more thing I want to do is put a trend line in from the lows here. Through the trend line there. We'll put it right down on that low candle there. All right, there it is. So that level comes right in here to the 33.50 area too. So 33.50 is a good level. 33.06, 3300 level would be a trapdoor trend line, meaning there's a support gap underneath that trend line. We could come down quickly, fill that, and push that. So two levels to watch going forward. Again, futures are higher today. Futures are higher tonight going into tomorrow. If we get that 60-minute rotation pushing back up, it's going to be interesting. The other thing I wanted to show you is we haven't had a divergence in the S&P since we had the COVID bottom being put in here. And it was a massive triple divergences happening right here, right at the low. And from that point on, we've moved all the way up. Now, we haven't had any divergence, really. That's popped up and given us an opportunity, really. So I don't know if that, that's a ways away. Again, back over here there was one and had a nice move, and back over here there was one and it was a pretty decent move. So this is a good indicator also. Just kind of keeping that up. Let me get rid of that Fibonacci, those Fibonacci's here. Well, I just took a break doing the video. I come back downstairs to the office, and boy, did the market here give us one of the best short divergences. You can see that it might be a little blurry on this screen, but You see that candle up here? It says divergence. So that was a perfect candle, divergence short candle. It dropped off and then it caught this huge move. It was beautiful. Took profits all the way down. From that point on, we moved back up and we just had another short divergence and it just caught more profits coming to the downside. I tell you, people, what a great way to trade the markets, having the Rockbot. Just identifying these trades for you. You could shadow it. You could run it on your own machine. It's impressive right now. This is on the short side, long side. Swing trades, scalps. Trade, like I said, the last video I did is explaining how to trade the SPY options on this. Futures have moved back, got cut in half here, dropped off, and I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow. The show starts tomorrow, as it usually does, around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. DayTradingRadio.com. That's DayTradingRadio.com. We have a nice. Let me throw this out to you too. We actually, if you go to DayTradingRadio.com here, you'll see there is a nice free special 10-day trial right there. 10-day trial. And you can see the show here live. You can watch the Rockbot, but if you want to get inside and take a look at our dashboard, shadow the Rockbot during the day, because I only run this Rockbot for the public at night. But even at night, you could make great trades. 10-day credit card, 10-day trial right here. No credit card needed. Just click on that. It'll pop up. Fill out the. All you need is an email address. Pick a login name. Choose a password. Confirm your password. Make sure your email address is a good one, because we send you back a confirmation and you're good to go. Basically that's it. 10-day. You get 10 days of everything. Trading rooms, instant trade alerts delivered, HPS video, the Rambot, the trader meter, collection of indicators, and get to watch the Rockbot full time. So take advantage of that. I'll see you guys in the market. I'm DayTraderRockStar. Hope you enjoyed this video on support the levels and going forward into the election. Have a good one.